Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a horror thriller film, a puzzle. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a man named Thomas nervously reading a letter inside a train. The letter was written by his sister and addressed to their father. The sister was captured some months ago and held for ransom. The letter contained instructions regarding where Thomas should go and how much money he should pay for his sister's freedom. Thomas and his father aren't on good terms and didn't speak for a long time. He returned home recently and discovered that his sister is missing, and his father is now a broken shell of a man who can barely stand up. It's now up to Thomas to bring the sister home. Their family lawyer informed him that the people who took his sister were part of a cult on a remote Welsh island. They would be expecting the father to show up with the ransom. So the lawyer advised Thomas to pretend to be a convert interested in the cult and stealthily rescue the sister. That was why Thomas is now traveling to the island. After the train ride, he plans to board a small boat going to the island. But the boatman strictly prohibits all passengers from bringing unnecessary objects from the mainland. If they are to be members of the cult, they have to leave their old lives behind. While lining up, Thomas notices that his ticket has a red mark on it, while other passengers' tickets don't. Thinking quickly, he approaches a male passenger and pretends to help him burn his belongings. When the man is not looking, Thomas switches their tickets. He now hands the mark-free ticket to the boatman, and he's admitted inside the boat. The man hands the ticket with the red mark next, and Thomas sees that the boatman drew an X on the passenger's suitcase. It's a very stormy trip. Waves crash against the boat, and the passengers all look very seasick. The female passenger remarks that she hasn't seen Thomas in any of the prayer meetings. Thomas furtively replies that he hasn't seen her either. Suddenly, one of the goats that are on the boat with them is thrown into the middle. Another passenger picks up the goat and throws it to the sea. He explains that the female deity they worship has willed that the goat be taken, so they will submit to her will. When morning comes, the sea finally calms down. They set out on small dinghies to complete the rest of their trip. They arrive at the remote island and are greeted by the sight of verdant hills and a quaint village. The year is 1905, but the members of the cult are dressed as if it's the 17th century. They have also eschewed all modern conveniences and live a very pastoral lifestyle. A boy approaches Thomas and offers to help him, but Thomas snidely rejects his offer. Thomas is welcomed into the cult and is given lodgings to stay in. A while later, he ventures outside and encounters a pretty redhead named Andrea. He also notices a group of men carrying an unconscious man. Thomas steps inside the small church and lays eyes on the cult's leader. He's currently preaching about how their religion has granted them freedom from the burdens of society. All the members are in awe at cult leader's conviction and charisma. It turns out the man Thomas switched tickets with was taken by the boatman and beaten up. They think that he's Thomas' father, and they demand that he give them the ransom money. Cult leader arrives and berates the boatman for beating him up too much. He then slits the man's throat to silence him. Afterward, he realizes that the real relative of the sister must be somewhere on the island. Thomas sneaks out of his room after curfew and catches the boy having a secret hormone date with his lover, who's the daughter of cult leader's right-hand man. When he comes back to his lodgings, a figure of a woman appears behind him some distance away. The next day, the boy nervously knocks on Thomas' door. He informs Thomas that it's now time for him to do his assigned work for the community. They go out to the shipwreck and collect planks of wood for further use. The boy gathers the courage to ask Thomas why he was outside last night. Thomas brusquely answers that he was just smoking a cigarette. The boy takes Thomas to the edge of the island's shore. He shows him an abandoned boat that had wrecked there and explains that cult leader caught a spy trying to leave the island. However, the tide was too strong and claimed the man's life. The boy believes that their deity protected them by killing the spy. Thomas takes this opportunity to show him a picture of his sister. The boy's face goes pale, and it's obvious that he knows her. Thomas forces an answer out of him. The boy confesses that the cult has been struggling to feed its members because their crops are failing and their animals are not breeding. In order to get much-needed funding, cult leader devised a plan to kidnap a rich man's daughter for ransom. The boy was in the boat that took the sister to the island, and he saw that she was screaming inside the box where she was kept. This is the confirmation that Thomas needed. Now he knows that his sister is still somewhere on the island. He then blackmails the boy into keeping his secret and helping him in exchange for Thomas keeping his mouth shut about the boy and his lover's hormone date. Meanwhile, the girl reveals to Andrea that she might be pregnant with the boy's baby. Premarital intercourse is considered a sin in their community, so she would be punished if cult leader and the others find out. Later that day, cult leader calls all of the newly arrived men to the church. He announces that one of them has disobeyed their curfew, and he will find out who it is. He asks all the men to recite the cult's oath. If they aren't true believers, they wouldn't know the oath by heart, and the traitor will be revealed. Obviously, Thomas doesn't know the oath, and he's nervous that cult leader will find out who he really is. Fortunately, the man next to Thomas is revealed to be a spy for the English king. He pulls out a knife and tries to attack cult leader. Thomas blocks the man and gets injured. Cult leader's guards spring to action and run their spears through the spy. Cult leader is grateful for Thomas' bravery. He commissions his daughter Andrea to treat Thomas' wounds. Because of this, Thomas and Andrea get to know each other. He's curious about her intelligence and strength, and he wants more for her than just being the cult leader's daughter. Later that night, cult leader parades Thomas' sister through the town. He's using her as bait to draw out her relatives. Cult leader threatens to kill the sister if her relative will not step forward. Thomas watches this from his window. He is torn between rescuing his sister and protecting his identity. He grabs the glass bottle of drugs that he's dependent on, but ends up smashing it on the floor in his frustration. Dawn comes, and the sister is still tied up in the town square. Some of the children taunt her. Andrea is the only one who shows her kindness by giving her bread and a blanket for the cold. Meanwhile, the boy's lover slides a mirror under her skirt to check if she is really pregnant. She doesn't know that her father, the cult leader's right-hand man, is watching her through a hole in the door. He realizes that his daughter has been cheated on by some hormone-rich man and she's pregnant. Sometime later, the sister is taken someplace more secure. Thomas watches everything with barely restrained anger. He tells the boy to be ready because he will be putting his rescue plan into action later. That night, cult leader throws a huge feast for the community. Although they are running out of food, cult leader plans to use the feast to distract the people so he can search their homes. Thomas drops by the feast and shares a charged moment with Andrea. She asks him to dance, but sadly Thomas has to meet the boy in the woods so they can rescue his sister. Meanwhile, cult leader and his right-hand man search Thomas' room. They find a map he drew of the town. Thomas goes inside the tunnel under cult leader's house. Cult leader realizes where he's headed and chases him. Thomas finds a sewer and dives into it to hide from cult leader and his men. The sewer is filled with blood, sludge, and animal entrails. A moment later, a woman with bright blue eyes emerges from the water and shrieks at Thomas. She crawls toward him, and he hurriedly moves through the sewer to get away from her. The sewer leads Thomas to a dark cave. The woman has already disappeared. Thomas discovers that the cave walls are filled with strange markings, depicting the female deity that the cult is worshipping. Curiously, the deity looks exactly like the woman he saw in the sewer. Cult leader heads to the barn. This is the place where he keeps the deity, who is currently imprisoned in tree roots. Every so often, cult leader would feed her with animal or human blood in exchange for her blessing their harvest. But as the boy said, the deity has not been giving them a good bounty for some time now, and cult leader is frustrated with her. He's mad that the deity showed herself to Thomas when he's not to be trusted. Cult leader then threatens the deity that he will cut off her blood supply if she doesn't bless them soon. Across the barn, a fearsome creature called the Grinder takes the cult member who is the latest offering to the deity. The person is inside a sack and is screaming. The Grinder strings the person up, and their blood drips to the tree roots, encasing the deity. The blood nourishes her, and the tree blooms with flowers. The next morning, Andrea finds Thomas sleeping in the cave. She gives him a fresh set of clothes to change into. She couldn't help but gasp when she sees that Thomas' back is scarred. Andrea asks him what happened. Thomas shares that he used to be a Christian missionary. He was so convinced of his faith that he traveled to China to convert the people there. However, he was met with hostility. The locals burned his cross and killed his companions. As punishment, they branded Thomas back. Ever since then, Thomas no longer believes in God. Andrea takes Thomas to an abandoned wheat field so he can hide there. Concurrently, the girl tells the boy that she's pregnant. He says that his father, the boatman, will take him to the mainland, and the boy wants her to go with him. They make plans to leave the island and raise their baby on the mainland. The boy goes ahead to prepare, while the girl packs her things. However, her father gets wind of their plan. He confronts his daughter inside their house. She defiantly tells him that she's gonna keep the baby. Right-hand man calls her a harlot and tells her that her baby will be born disfigured. She tries to plead with him, but he forcibly tries to do an abortion procedure on her. Sometime later, the boy goes to the girl's house and discovers her mutilated and bloody corpse. The abortion had gone horribly wrong, and right-hand man ended up killing her. He and the boy wrestle their muscles, and right-hand man tells the community that it was the boy who killed his daughter. The boy runs to the wheat field where Andrea and Thomas are. He begs for their help, but it's already too late. The men capture both Thomas and the boy and drag them back to the town square. Right-hand man exacts his revenge on the boy by strapping him to a torture device. He pulls a lever and a metal drill is inserted into the boy's head, boring a hole in his skull and killing him. He then inserts a symbol of purity inside the skull. Cult leader and the boatman appear moments later. Right-hand man turns the tables on cult leader and demands that he prove his worthiness by killing Thomas on the spot. Andrea begs her father not to do it. The boatman gets enraged over the merciless death of his son, and he attacks the right-hand man. He then declares that he will end things by killing the deity. Thomas uses this distraction to free himself and kill the two men guarding him. He flees after the boatman and chases him through the woods. The boatman enters the barn where the deity is kept, but the grinder overpowers him and takes his shotgun. He shoots the boatman twice and kills him. Before dying, the boatman tells Thomas to burn everything down. Thomas hides from the grinder before he can see him. Cult leader and right-hand man arrive at the barn. Cult leader pleads with him to stop his violent acts, but right-hand man just shoots cult leader in the shoulder. Inside the barn, the grinder takes the boy's mutilated body and feeds his blood to the emaciated deity. The grinder momentarily leaves the barn. Thomas finds another sack, and he opens it and sees his sister still alive inside. They reunite, and he promises she will be safe, but the grinder returns and whacks Thomas in the head with a hammer. Thomas regains consciousness and finds himself tied to a meat grinding table. The grinder is slowly pulling his body over the table and toward the sharp metal spikes that will eviscerate his body and drain his blood. Thomas' fingers get chopped off by the spikes, but luckily he manages to fight off the grinder and free himself. He then kills the creature by feeding him to his own torture device. Thomas stands up and weakly stumbles to the deity. She whispers that she has been waiting for him for a long time. She then places her fingers on his temples and makes him see a vision. It was a memory of the day that cult leader and right-hand man came to the island and discovered the deity. Right-hand man gleaned through the cave drawings to know the power of the deity, and he convinced cult leader to imprison her in the barn so they could use her. She has been trapped there ever since. The vision ends, and the deity begs Thomas to end her suffering and set her free. Thomas grabs a lantern and sets her on fire. The deity welcomes her death. The whole tree goes up in flames too, and the fire spreads to the village. An injured but still breathing cult leader watches as everything he built burns down. Meanwhile, right-hand man chains both Andrea and Thomas' sister. He reveals to Andrea that her father had always been too soft to do what needed to be done. Right-hand man now plans to impregnate the two women every year and feed the babies to the deity so they will be blessed. Thomas races to town and attacks right-hand man. With the help of Andrea and his sister, he is able to overpower him, ending his right-handed life. The three of them run out of the burning village toward the boat that's waiting for them. But Thomas' injuries are too severe and he's dying. He falls to the ground, blood dripping behind him. He says goodbye to his sister and wishes her well. He asks Andrea to pray for his soul. The two women then leave him behind and head for the boat. They depart the wretched island, along with a few other survivors. Cult leader finds Thomas. They both discover that his blood is causing the vegetation to grow and bloom. The two men share a silent look, filled with understanding. It turns out Thomas is being reborn as the new deity that will guard the island. Cult leader smiles and is at peace, knowing that his faith will live on. Meanwhile, Thomas, after years of not believing in a higher power, now finds himself imbued with strange and mystical magic. The movie ends with Thomas lying down on the grass as the earth welcomes his body and his soul. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.